Hello everyone. So this is me and Devin's presentation on how UV lockdown went for us like 2 weeks ago. So a little late, but we should have some good baseline information for some higher sec stuff coming up. So pay attention if you want.
Hi, I'm Devin. I am a current first year and from Charlotte, North Carolina. I like judo. I like to make stuff. This is one of my favorite projects that I've done. I like to take pictures, and I love to just send my laptop into paint.
As one does.
Yeah.
This is me. I'm Chase from Long Island. What's that? First year. I use Windows like a boss. 11. Um, Big music guy. Into a little indie music y'all have never heard of before. Um, yeah, I enjoy Python stuff like that, and I need a calculus tutor. So if anyone's willing to like show me, I was product rule really got me on the last test. It's so bad.
Okay.
All right. So this was the topology from UV Lockdown. As you can see, red team, big no-no, scoring engine, kind of wacky, and all of our land boxes, all the cloud stuff. This is the PFSense, whatever, you know how it is. DMZ, you've heard these terms maybe. I can't explain them. They're kind of complicated. Um, so when first seeing this topology, I kind of like peed my pants because it just makes no sense. Like without knowing competitions before, I had like no idea what I was looking at. And so it's so many colors and words and lines. Ubuntu, I guess.
All right. So what we did first was split up what services and what machines each person in our group was doing. So I took FTP and MySQL. I was kind of forced into it because I left early.
Yeah.
Chase took DMZ and HTTP, which were both Ubuntu servers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a great learning experience for all of us. And you can see the other people on our team and what they took. First thing we did was go onto a room that we reserved.
Yeah.
And we wrote on the board what each person was doing and what important services we need to keep up.
Yeah. Yeah. So like people say you should have a 5 minute plan, and so I made a little kind of crappy mock up, kind of dog water. It was basically just a bunch of like Linux commands that I like didn't know by heart because I hadn't really used Linux at all beforehand. Um, and then I just had basically like 7 bullet points of just like change passwords, look at ports. I was doing HTTP, so I was like, oh, port 80, that's important, I guess. Firewall rules, 443, whatever, um, and just kind of like basic things that I knew I should type into the console and maybe get things done.
My plan was to drive us there safely. So we had our competition start at 8 a.m., I believe.
Yeah.
And we had an hour and a half drive. So I just wanted to get solid 9 hours of sleep. I felt like I was well prepared myself well. And I just wanted to learn a lot during this trip and experience and have fun with my friends. So, hour and a half away. Luckily for IRSEC, we don't need to go an hour and a half away, so you guys get to sleep in.
Yeah. And hopefully I won't wake up late to go to IRSEC like I did UB. So this is the basic scoring for UV. It's basically your IP addresses with like the X being your specific team number, number 10, just put 10 in there. And then what specific service you were designated to, your specific OS, the box you were running, and then just like the different, each category all scored differently, all stated in the topology. And as you can see, kind of lengthy, kind of not. And then like PFSense wasn't scored, and everything else is down to the like specifics. Yeah. So it actually started. We had to check in by 9 o'clock or so, but we got there like 9, and yeah, we had a little hiccups on the drive there. Stopped at Dunkin'. Nice. Yeah, competition check in. Not just lengthy. It's such a long time. It was like the whole day. It was. We had to work through lunch, which was like so. Like, oh yeah, you better go get pizza soon. I'm like, man, all my things are ready. I have no idea what I'm doing, and you want me to leave? We're losing points right now. And also closing remarks are cool, but they won't share it with us.
All right, so you're gonna need to remember a few things when you're going to a blue teaming competition. The first thing is to get there on time, but just as importantly, you're gonna need to get a solid breakfast. Delicious. Dunkin' Donuts is the best.
Delectable.
So don't forget breakfast. It's really healthy, and you're gonna need the brain power from Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
The next thing you're gonna need are snacks. As many snacks as you can bring. The only reason our team didn't win is because I brought 52 snacks, and the other team brought 64 snacks.
Yeah.
So your tables might be looking like that, but it'll be nice because red team and white team will love you if you bring Timbits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our table was so disgusting by the end of it. We just had wrappers and like lotus fruit snacks everywhere. It was such a mess. I don't know how we were organized. I mean, like we weren't. So, and also Timbits were such a like a blessing at UB. They just gave like an entire box for each team, and then red team just came over. Kenny on multiple occasions comes over, just starts smacking on the Timbits, just like he doesn't even know what he's doing, and like red team just stealing our Timbits. All right, so this more pertains to what I was doing in the competition. So one very important service, HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol. Look that up. So, and then so I was like, what even is HTTP? So it's just like a service, you know. And then things that pertain to HTTP, Apache, Nginx, their services, right? So just like it was just a lot of like looking up what things were. For the most part, I was just like constantly fumbling the bag and just like trying to figure out how to even access the services, what commands I should use, and so doing like sudo systemctl status for Apache to just would give you this little blip. Oh, you're running. It's fine. So then you have to do some more troubleshooting. Oh, why isn't it working? Because the service is still down, yet this is right. You have to progressively like start checking everything else. And then another very important thing, SSH. So secure shell, just remote console access pretty much. Very important for your cloud boxes because you have no other way to access them. And so major fumble on my part is for getting to SSH within like maybe like 20 minutes, not SSHing to any of our like my two Ubuntu boxes, and just lost those just to the void. Red team changed the passwords and whipping ass. Yeah, I didn't even know what this command was. I forget to help me out, but sudo SSH. It was that, and then just the thing, and then this is just me showing an example, little SSH into my Atom box, and then you just start typing the password, whatever, so you can get in. You can actually SSH into localhost. It's kind of wacky. You can, yeah. It's kind of pointless. I don't know why. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, firewall rules. Wow, this was like so important. So so I mean it's very simple on Linux compared to Windows with my buddy Jose had to do. Windows firewall kind of just gross. Kind of meh. Linux so simple. Sudo UFW. UFW stands for uncomplicated firewall because it's for silly goobers like me who don't know what they're doing. On the contrary to like IP tables, which is just like for professionals and people who actually know what they're doing. So do things like sudo UFW status to just get an entire rundown on all your stuff that's open. So this is me like having 422 SSH open, and then like, oh, I want to have HTTP running, just sudo allow HTTP. It takes like words for the port number specifically. It's kind of fancy like that. Yeah, and make sure when you're in your SSH box that you don't like deny SSH access to just therefore kick you out of the box, and that you have no access to any of your cloud service boxes. And like, there's all this very convoluted. You're just going to do a lot of looking things up on Google to try to get any sense of like security and what you're doing.
Oh,
Yeah, I got this. Yeah. Also, pfSense. Yeah. So Dom was doing pfSense for us, but no one on our team really knew like how to do pfSense well. Even though I'm doing that for IRSec, I need to look into this. So proper like conduct is just like block pretty much everything, and then just only allow the services that are defined. Like you need to have port 22 open and 80 HTTP SSH, and let's say you just like have this given to you, you just get the web GUI, and then just like it just makes no sense. Like you just when you hit add, and then it brings up a bunch of other prompts that are just so confusing, and like Google it just doesn't help sometimes. You're just sitting there watching your computer just like burn to shreds right in front of you, all your points going down. You take the scoreboard, you just see you're like 10th in the graph, and then it's like, oh man, this is not good. Yeah.
I'm gonna show you how to turn that around and kind of fix some stuff. So I'm gonna talk to you about I guess kind of commands that you could help that could help you. All right. So first thing you're going to need to do is changing your password. I know we had some trouble doing that within the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So for Linux, you can use that command password, and then the username is Bluetooth. For Windows, it is this thing, and then this is your password over here. Net user, username, and then password. The only thing that I'd be worried about is that's clear text in your history, command history. So if you put a star instead of the password, it'll take you into a little prompt that will allow you to type it in without, I guess, showing it on screen. Pro tip, change your MySQL password without switching the computer. I know that happened once towards the end.
Yeah.
And another pro tip is don't forget your passwords. And if you write them down, don't let red team see them. And take pictures of them twice.
I wonder who did that.
I wonder who did that. Yeah, hide your passwords from them. Very helpful. Yeah. Another command is SS, which will show you all of your open sockets. This is a really helpful command, especially if you pair it up with watch. So what this command does is run whatever in quotation marks every specified time, so you can have n equals 1. So every second, it's going to update this or run this command and show you the differences between last second and this second. So you have a highlighted, something was open, but it's closed now. This one's new and it's open now. And that's TAC4 will show all the IPv4 open sockets, or sockets open over IPv4. Swapping out 4 for 6 will show you IPv6, but I don't know if you guys have to deal with IPv6 with IRSec. If you just run SS, this is what it'll show you. It'll show you like internal sockets that are open also. Helpful too. Yeah. LS logins. This will show you every username or every account on your computer. So I remember Red Team had Red Team account and not Red Team and a bunch of accounts on the computer.
Things
Dingus
like that.
was on there. Dingus was on there. A bunch of accounts on our computer that we did not want on there. So what we did, we had to go into Etsy/shadow and or password
Yeah.
password and find out all the accounts that were on there that we didn't want on there and delete them all.
Yeah.
Delete the accounts.
Manually by hand because
Yes.
you don't really have any script. Or
This
anything.
command will show you what accounts are on your computer. So. Lastly, script. Script is super helpful, especially for write-ups and documentation. So at the end of UV lockdown, we had to do documentation, and the one thing we didn't have was screenshots. But this script command will, I guess, keep logs of whatever is on your terminal. So if you have, let's say, ls, or if you remove user red team or not red team, it'll actually keep that in your log, and you can go back to your log and see it. The only downside is that if you clear your screen, then the log gets cleared also, or you can't see anything in the log. Or even if you control L to like lower your screen, the log gets cleared. And this is just a plain text log, and it looks really nice and helpful once you do it.
Yeah. So overall, had a great time. Very much enjoyed. Thank you, Don, Hayden, Alec, and Jose for being on the team. I mean, Alec, absolute legend. We wouldn't have been able to do those injects. We didn't have slides to inject. Should have done it. Yeah, the injects kind of complicated. Just kind of like goofy emails that you got to send for like half the points of the entire event. So they're pretty important. And like he dedicated so much time to them. He narrowly fumbled the index once, but he recovered it. Things like that. So very fun, great experience. We had some good Mexican food after that was Jose approved, so you know it's good. And any questions?
I took backwards. And I
no, we did.
Thanks for reminding me because I'm out of space and I don't have the ability to do that.
We did take the quiz, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do that. Never mind.
No, you go first. No, you go first.
I insist, though.
Oh, you throw.
No,
I insist.
I forgot.
I'm putting you on fire. No,
You're
go.
spend a long time on that. When you remember it,
What did you guys like take away from this?
what did I take
Like,
away?
what did you get from this whole experience?
Ooh, I can put on my resume, that's for sure.
Even like reflecting on it, like what did you get?
Reflecting on, I get a lot of like experience of like under pressure, like what to do, like in a panic situation. I guess definitely some good experience for ISAC. Hopefully, I don't know if it's gonna transfer over, but hopefully it will.
I'm gonna also go to talk a little bit about this. I had no clue what a blue teaming thing was, any blue teaming. And like going into it, I was like, what do I put on a 5 minute list? But after it, I kind of know that I'm gonna be able to research on the spot, but also be able to research that beforehand now. So I can take away what comes with a blue teaming experience.
Wait, did you get anything else from this experience? Perhaps. Oh yeah.
Man.
Oh yeah. Number one.
Round of
In the
applause.
books. In the books.
Sure.
So when you guys do another teaching competition, what's the biggest thing you'll better for?
Research.
Probably
Hide the passwords.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Honestly, probably everything. Probably prepare more beforehand. Because that 5 minute plan was made like 5 minutes before, so that's kind of bad. Just look into what more specifically you're responsible for as like the services that you're looking for. Like being sure of what like you're supposed to do when you're there. Because at the competition, it's kind of just like, all right, here's your passwords to log on, and then you just have like a flat terminal to look at. And you're like, oh, okay, everything's fine. And then everything goes red on the scoring screen, and you're like, oh, everything's not fine. And then you just gotta troubleshoot from there. So if you know what you're doing, it's like a good advantage over the other teams.
mentioned forgetting about injects. What, could you talk about them for a little bit? Because they're kind of important.
Yeah. So index, especially like instant response, they're pretty important. They scored like half, at least at UB they were half. Our sec's like 35%. So they're just like they're kind of like goofy little emails that you gotta like you gotta. I mean, they're important, but they're kind of funny because it all goes with the like scenario that we were in. The scenario for UB was like you're like contractor. Yeah, for like a crypto guy and
who leak their passwords.
yeah, they leaked all their passwords on Twitter, and then you had to recover their systems. And there was like the live like CEO walking around UV too. Just like, what can you tell me?
Where's my money going?
Where's my money?
Why is there a lot of red on the board?
Yeah. What is how is this helpful? and then I was literally like trying to like answer his questions, but also trying to like figure out what the hell was wrong with my computer. And it was just like, yeah, SSH, it's like and then it's fun. But yeah,
The other inject that we had to do was at the end, which was a really important one. Go back to the split slide. I feel like the biggest thing that separated
which slide?
That one.
Yeah.
No, the one after.
Huh?
After.
Huh?
After. This one.
Okay.
The big thing that we didn't do with our last inject, which was like recap your day. What did you do to the computers to fix it? The biggest thing we didn't have was screenshots, and that's the one thing I kind of would want to do again and fix. And I feel like this command would definitely help me. Yes.
So just adding onto the whole screenshots thing, make sure that you actually save your screenshots.
Yes.
We may or may not have made that mistake on our team.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of the
Would you do your index on Google Docs so you can reference them before or later, after, just to know like this is what I did and this is what I can do? Or are they just
Yeah. Yeah, they got banned since the beginning. They got sucked down when they restarted that laptop. Like, if you really want to know some good inject things, Caleb was like the inject legend for our winning blue team. Is I stole a little template from him prior to that. Yeah.
Also, we had to do the injects on what was the software? Slack.
Microsoft
Teams.
Microsoft Teams. So we had to turn in our index on Microsoft Teams. So yes, because it's a team environment, it's a workplace environment. So.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes. This slide?
Oh, yeah. I made this slide. This slide took me maybe like a minute and like 13 seconds. Yeah, I don't know. You just put a bunch of question marks. And as you can see, there's a bunch of inefficient use of white space, so bad for your resume. But like, yeah, I personally.
Make it SPR next time.
Yeah.
So your passwords got stolen.
Yeah.
Things. Do you have a strategy for next time so that doesn't happen? And did you insult Red Team with your passwords? Because you should.
Yeah. we definitely did not insult Red Team. Yeah. In Red Team's little explanation on what they did after, there was just a clear picture of me holding the password sheet, and it was so obvious. I was like, oh my! It listed it like clearly in like 4K. Like it was terrible. Oh my gosh.
In defense, we 1 and 2 of the pictures on that slide were from our table.
Yeah,
so
they're actually both spelled on fake password sheets.
we did have fake password sheets.
Good
though,
fake
so keep
password.
that
That's
in
probably
mind.
smart.
Yeah.
Fake password sheets. Also, my dad
Well,
texted
we had
me.
one actual fake one and one that turned into a fake one because they did get a picture of it 5 minutes after we started.
Yeah. My dad actually texted me this little thing from his IT company. So he says like for a physical password sheet, maybe have like a little like scheme to it. What?
Invisible ink.
Yeah, use invisible ink and a little black light to look at your passwords. No, like my dad mentioned like adding like 5 random characters to the start and like the end of it, just to like have a little scheme for your group, so you can actually like so if someone gets a clear picture of it and they see your password, they don't know like the code to like specifically decipher what the actual password should be.
Another thing to look into would be a password manager. I know that Bitwarden Enterprise Edition does shared passwords, but I don't know about the free version. But look into like a shared password manager.
Any other questions?